Hello, everybody, and welcome to another iconic episode of A Good Lawyer podcast. Stuff's getting deep with Esteban, and the newest creation, After Hours with Esteban. And what a way to bring this in with none other than the incomparable Jessica Brassington. Jessica, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Steve, it's been too long. I'm glad to be back.
I couldn't agree more. So much has happened with you, and I don't even know where to get started. But no time like the present to get started, and from the beginning. So tell me all about what's been going on with this new magazine.
So I think you're talking about Call to Lead. I actually didn't create that. That is actually with Kelly Roach and Sandy Glant out of
Oh, okay.
Florida. And so very aligned with faith, family, freedom. They are really women that are stepping up and saying, leading the way, saying that you can build a successful business and do things in your community without sacrificing time with your family. Or your freedom that's in life, but they also have a lot of the same values that we have here at Mama Bears Rising, which is faith, family, freedom. So, yes, I'm in the inaugural issue of that. And there's actually a conference October 1st in Boca Raton called Call to Lead. So, if any of y'all are listening, any women who believe in that, that you can be successful without sacrificing your faith, family, and freedom, then join us. I'd love to see you there.
And I think so many people believe that they can't do it all, and I believe you can do it all without sacrificing faith, family, and freedom. Wouldn't you say?
Amen. I totally agree. It doesn't mean it's easy, right? And there's different seasons of life. I'm perfect example of that. I'm in a new transition season. My youngest daughter has finished her high school credits and is moving on to the next season of life. And so I'm in a different season than I was when I was in the throes of motherhood and them being school age. But it doesn't mean you have to fully abandon one or the other. It just might mean that you need to prioritize and do things a little differently.
That is correct. And how do you feel about the way the world has changed since we last spoke?
Wow, I feel like, Steve, and this is with other friends of mine, if we don't catch up every, couple of weeks or so, definitely every month, so much has changed. And so, um, obviously, one of the most obvious is we just had celebrated our semi-quincentennial, the 250th year of our great nation. I got my little Texas-based Susan Shaw necklace there with the flag on one side and the eagle on the other, and so that's been a big thing. So much where like you said, where do we start? The SCOTUS decision, we'll talk about the men and women's sports, especially being here in Texas, right? And now Senator Mays Middleton, who is our, Republican nominee for, the attorney general, he was big on that, save women's sports right here in Texas. Lots of things happening. Yeah, where do you wanna start?
Well, I just, this a lot of celebrities, which I don't really give a lot of credit to when they start just going off on things that I don't even think they are very aware of, but they were just, in a sense, boycotting this whole 250th birthday celebration that was going on. I don't get it. What's the motivator here? Is it because they're not getting noticed uh, by their peers? Are not getting good movie roles? I don't know what it is, but to be, just what do you think about all that?
Well, I'm not a celebrity, so I can't speak from their perspective, but I can speak as an American, and
Mhm.
as a citizen, and say that I've I've heard a mix of different things, but
Mhm.
maybe they don't agree with who our president is right now or the administration.
Mhm.
But, to me, honestly, regardless of who's in the office, I'm still proud to be an American. I received the American Legion Award in middle school, and so I haven't changed since then. And you can say what you will about America, but if you talk to people around the world, especially those who have come here to live, are not perfect, but we still are the best country in the world, and we have that opportunity and freedom. So I can't speak for them, but I feel like the more of us that really share about the great things about America, maybe people that have misconceptions, it'll open up that dialogue and we can have civil discourse, right? Whereas a lot of countries, you don't even have that right to say something like America is shouldn't be celebrated.
I just have one thing to say about that, and is that if you don't like it here, then leave.
And that's definitely one way to look at it. Yeah.
Um, so you have been traveling a lot. I know you went to Mar-a-Lago. You've been to DC a lot. Tell us about those trips. What was the goal for those trips, and what did you learn from those trips?
Yes. So I have been to DC. I'm actually already a handful of times this year.
Hmm.
And the first time I went there, it was for HHS. They were having their first women's health conference, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Like, why in
Hmm.
the world haven't we had a women's health conference? So that was really interesting. I left with really being hopeful, honestly, with HHS having that one, having a women's health conference, but then there was midwives up on stage. There was a physician talking about Lyme disease, and I heard a lot of things that people in the holistic health community like myself have been sharing for years be talked about on stage. And I'll say that the resounding theme of the conference, as well as the MAHA things I went to before that with physicians about the COVID protocols, was that we need to listen to parents and then we need to listen to the patients. So that was pretty promising. I know we have a long way to go. There were even things like the black box label being removed from vaginal estrogen cream. It's like, why do we have it on something like that? And how many women have been kept from something as simple as that because of that? So that was interesting. But then I've been back several times for different events. I met with a lady, Michelle, who is with the Republican Women's Caucus. So Congresswoman Kat Kamick out of Florida started that last year. And that's another thing, Steve. Why are we just now having a Republican Women's Caucus? Once again, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. It's like, why aren't we having these spaces for women? So that was really interesting to be in DC and just start being around people in HHS and even NIH, and then our elected representatives there. And then for Mar-a-Lago, I was there as a guest of Dr. Gina Loudon.
Hmm.
I attended, I don't know if we've talked about this, Steve, on your show before, but it was last year in Dallas. I attended a gala for some of the J Sixers, as they're referred to,
Yes.
um, people that were there, political prisoners, actually, for the January 6th event. And so it was an auction item. Dr. Gina Loudon had to be her guest for dinner at Mar-a-Lago, and her husband, former senator of Missouri, John Loudon, was there as well. So that was really a great experience to go there and to be able to openly talk about things, even if we don't agree with everything in the administration.
Sure.
I don't either. And
Hmm.
I took one of my dear friends and fellow fierce warriors, Seek Smith, who has a mom and dad army and badass do-gooders. So yeah, that's just a little bit about what I've done, but it's different when you actually get to DC and then go to Mar-a-Lago and start learning these things firsthand. And it's been great.
I also wanted to ask you how you're doing in your recovery from your explant surgery.
Yes, so that has actually come just about a little bit over a year since I had that. I'm actually going to be doing something together with Dr. Robert Whitfield. He's my surgeon out of Austin, Texas.
Hmm.
And I am just so glad. I don't regret it. I just wish I had have done it sooner. Um, I feel like as my body heals more and more from the toxins that were in it and the reactions I was having, it's been amazing.
Hmm. Now, do you feel 100%, or are you still getting there?
No, I'm feeling better day by day. I think also, just having having more energy and having the lack of symptoms that I was having from the implants has really made life better. And it's kind of like, that old analogy, like that person that needs glasses. When they put their glasses on, they didn't realize exactly what they were missing out on. That's how I'm feeling. So it's honestly just getting better and better.
A whole new world out there.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, what changes do you think need to be made from your time in DC and from the conversations that you've had? Uh, are there any movements, if you will, to get things better for the Maha movement, or are there some roadblocks still? Tell us what you've heard.
So from what I've seen firsthand, and
Mhm.
you've known me, I think, long enough now, Steve, to know I don't follow headlines or snippets. I share from actual sources and people on the ground. I think, like a lot of things, I've said this before, we didn't get here overnight, over decades, or even
That's for
years,
sure.
or tens of years, or over 100 years. So we're not going to get to where we want to be instantaneously. However, I think something that definitely the mainstream media, but the average person doesn't see is all the changes that have happened in the short amount of time. One of the things that's been really interesting is I like putting myself in situations and around people who may not believe like I do and everything, because I believe in having civil discourse, right? That respectful back and forth, wrestling with ideas, finding solutions. So I don't always know necessarily when I'm in DC if someone's a quote unquote Republican or Democrat or conservative. A lot of times people may have differing views on other topics, but we can agree on something like protecting children, right? Or the Maha movement. And so
Hmm.
that's been really good for me to be around people and not even knowing, especially at the HHS conference, like how they vote. And honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I want to be around differing ideas. So that's been interesting, in HHS and NIH, and then seeing a lot of the things that they're doing, what they're working on. And I attended, in the HHS building, uh, something that Dr. Oz was heading up, but it was more of the economics in healthcare and what's going on behind the scenes. And they had someone there presenting some ideas. So I just think really seeing a behind the scenes of what's going on and what the work that they are doing has been really interesting. And you just can't get that from the news or just seeing the bills that are being passed. It's easy to get discouraged when, things like glyphosate has happened again, and it is discouraging. But unless you are on the Maha calls and you're talking to the people and seeing all the work that's happening, you really don't get the full spectrum of what's going on during this administration, especially.
That's true. And I think, uh, especially in DC, you kind of never know who you're talking to because everybody hides who they really are very carefully because they're scared, right, of the backlash. But
Yeah.
here while you were away, there was a lot of uh, campaigning going on for a guy who's running for district attorney here in Bexar County. Uh, he's an independent. I guess he leans more right than anything. However, it was amazing to see how uh, the mainstream media did not want to interview him, did not even put him in the papers or any of the, I guess, town hall meetings, the question and answer kind of things for the other candidates, which I thought was very, very, I guess, disappointing is the better word to say. And, now that he's made it, and they made it really difficult for him as an independent to get onto the ballot. Now, this is one of Bexar County's most highest positions, being a district attorney, the head law enforcement person of this county. And it was really unsettling to see how they treated this guy. And now he made it. He got all the signatures he needed, and now he's going full force. But what he does want to do, and I wanted to, and where I was going with that with you is that this politics thing has really gotten out of control with people. People are losing family members as far as relationships. Friendships are being ruined. Jobs are being lost. I mean, the list goes on, and I think that's a problem. What do you think needs to happen with all that? Because now he's on the ballot. Now they actually have to recognize him. He was a lawyer. He was a judge. He was a prosecutor. Uh, his candidates, one of the candidates, never tried a case in their life.
Hmm. And I think that goes back to really why one of the reasons why I started Mama Bears Rising and have continued to do it, even though it's cost me literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've shared
Mm,
before. I
yeah.
knew because of those things, the politicking and what can happen, that to truly speak truth and not be in anyone's back pocket, I had to fund this movement myself. And so I think it goes back to the average citizen being engaged and goes back to even that civic education that I have been very open about being ignorant about, right? When I spoke out about the COVID hospital protocols and had friends with parents in the hospital they weren't able to see, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if a mandate meant I had to do it. Was I going to go to jail? Like I didn't know any of those things. And then when I started speaking out in the last 6 years, I had to piecemeal everything and saw how difficult it is for the average citizen to really understand who represents you, who to go to for what. And then just like you were saying, some of it sounds like this person experienced when an average citizen or even someone who's not average, this person definitely is an average, right? When they want to go and really speak for the people, it can be it can be really difficult. And so I think it goes back to being engaged and people getting past that apathy of speaking up because perfect example, if more people would speak out and tell the media like we want to hear from everybody, right? It would change. But what's happening is there's so much apathy right now
Mhm.
that just like our elected officials, they're gonna speak to who's showing up and who's speaking up, and that's why they're able to get away with it, and mainstream media is able to get away with it. So until we start taking things into our own hands as we the people and demanding that political candidates are treated with respect and showing the media by not watching media that we don't think is fair or and neutral, it's not
Mhm.
gonna change.
And I think you nailed it right there because as a layperson and not a lawyer in his world or the other candidates' world, uh, what I noticed is that he's very outspoken and he is calling the balls and strikes, if you will. He's naming names and he's calling people out for not knowing what they're doing for in the positions that they're having, judges, prosecutors, the current DA. And I think this is why they hate him so much, or they're making life miserable for him, or they were, I should say, because he was calling everybody out. And why the DA's office here in town is such a mess.
Yeah, so I don't live in Bexar County, but I do have my daughter lives there and now my grandson lives there.
Oh wow.
And I think I've shared with definitely with you. I don't know if I've shared on the show before, but I wanted to move to Bernie when
Mhm.
my children did graduate. So I do have an interest, of course, there and because it's in Texas. So I can't speak specific to Bernie to Bear, but I can speak about Montgomery County where I live And I have definitely seen, people that tend to wanna rock the boat and aren't easily swayed, one way or the other, can be seen as a threat to those that have something to hide or may not have been doing their job to the best of their ability. So, I think definitely there could be something to that, that candidate who isn't in there just to enhance his or her political career or their pocket.
No.
I mean, you're going into a battle, right? And that's part of it, and that's why a lot of people don't run for offices.
Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, a lot of people, not just in Bear County, but uh, other cities, other municipalities, other small towns, they have a system going, whether it be on the level or not. They just don't want that messed up. And when somebody new comes in trying to disturb the kitty, the pot, they
Yeah.
get really mad, and it shows. But I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but obviously there's a lot of people upset that he's trying to run, but I don't see why when he's qualified. But in other things, I want to hear all about this magnificent book of yours, and I want all of my listeners and viewers to hear about it. Tell them about it.
Yes, so this has been, something in the making that I wanted to do for years now since I started Mama Bears Rising, and it's finally going to come to fruition. So,
Hmm.
is Mama Bears Rising a call to moms to rise up for what matters most?
Hmm.
And I've also been very outspoken, even before Mama Bears Rising, about really giving credit where credit is due to men as well. And I've spoken against toxic masculinity because I believe that truly masculine men will fight to protect women and children. And
Absolutely.
so, and then also for the family, right? That family unit. So I will have men in there who've spoken up um, for for the things that we talk about a lot on your show, as
Hmm.
well as women and even some women that don't have biological children but they've spoken up before that. So to me, being a mama bear is really the heart of a woman to rise up, not stay silent. And so you'll hear the origins of the mama bear rising movement, but also letting that reader know that as a woman, you're a leader, whether it's in your home and it's with the decisions you're making for the food you're putting, in the mouths of your children or the medical or education decisions you're making, or you're in that corporate office, right? That corporate corner office or in Congress. We're leading and teaching people every day, regardless of where we're at, or the title or letters behind our name. So, really, just that call to encourage that mom to rise up in some way, and it doesn't have to look like my journey
Hmm.
or the women you see necessarily on the TV or definitely not in the media, but we can all do something with where we're at with our influence. So yes, that'll be coming out early 2027, and I'm hoping to have it available for pre-order in October.
Now, will this be a vehicle to grow the army, so to speak? Because I know there's a lot of grandpas or popos or you
Hope.
know uh you have mama bears rising. There's a lot of grandma bears rising too. I just became a grandfather not too long ago, so I you know I've spoken with a lot of other grandpas that are like-minded in the sense of wanting to protect our families, but not just that, but our new additions to the family, our grandkids. So there's a lot of us, and I think it's a movement that's now it's just going to keep growing, and that's all thanks to you.
Oh, thanks, Steve. So, the tagline for Mama Bears Rising is where moms go to be informed, not
Hmm.
influenced. And that's
Hmm.
what I've seen as a gap, a huge thing that is not addressed, and it still is. And I've shared in my story, I kept waiting for someone to speak up, right? And when no one else did that I saw, I did it. Well, the same thing. I've been looking for a place to send all these moms and the dads who want to do something. And here we are, what, 6 years later, or 5 years later, really, if you want to count 2021, there's still nothing exists the way I'm approaching it. So that's how the Mama Bears Rising online community, that's what it's going to do. It's going to be that first stop where you can go for trusted solutions to what's keeping you up at night. How
Mhm.
do I protect my child or now my grandchild from online predators? If I want my child to be in public school, what are my parental rights? What are my options to educate my child? Should I, not choose to do what it seems like everyone else is just thinking is public school as the only option, right? So we're
Okay.
going to have mama mentors in there. Everyone's aligned with faith, family, and freedom. And so that's going to be where you can go. Same with the men. I share this too. When I started speaking out and doing Mama Bears Rising, I understood the responsibility that I had when you bring up these issues, especially to men, because they want to take action, which is a good thing, right?
Right.
And if you're
Mhm.
just like, I don't know, write your congressperson, that doesn't really fly with a lot of men. And so I call it Papa Bears Rising. I'm sure that's going to organically grow as well and have a space for the men because men communicate differently. Men and women are different, right? God created male and female. And so it really is a source. Yeah, it's for moms, but if you're that parent wanting to know the same information, um, you can go there and get great resources as well. You mentioned grandparents. I'm a GD now. My 8 months, and he is just the sweetest, most precious thing. And I think what's happening now as the teens and the young moms, the teens are becoming into their 20s, right? So that maybe it was 20 now they're starting their families and they're looking for resources, but then maybe, the generation where they had older kids and they were kind of tuning out to the books and the gender ideology. Oh, hold on now. Now they have grandparents. So now the attention is back on that. So I think it's for both. And it's a place to go and get information, and then how did these another thing I'm seeing is for grandparents, now
Mhm.
we're not the parent, right? I'm experiencing this with my own daughter. She's the parent, so I'm the guide. She may not make all the same decisions the way I would. So that's
Right.
gonna be another thing in the community is where do we have these resources and a way to talk now to our adult children as parents without back to what you said at the beginning, causing that where now it's severing relationships, right?
Mhm.
You don't need to agree. Here's the information. But now that you're the parent, you go and take this information and do what you feel is best for you and your children. And how do we keep that dialogue going in a way that's not judging because now we're not the ones in charge, right? That's what we fight for and say the parents call the
Right.
shots. Well, what happens when you're not the parent, but you're like, wait a second, that's my grandchild? So these are all discussions we'll be having in the Mama Bears Rising community.
Well, and me going through this now, when you give your opinion, they're like, no, I'll make the decisions kind of thing. And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't mean it like that, but yeah, I get it. It's
Yeah.
difficult. It's not easy because yeah, you're
It's,
trying to
yeah.
you mean well. I mean, but it's not received sometimes the same way.
And that's why I think, I could say this from being a holistic health coach years ago, right? I was sharing about GMOs and all the things. My children knew it, they heard about it, but as teens, they may not. It's like we know the things, but we don't always do it all, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes it helps to hear from someone other than us because they hear us all the time. I'm hoping that Mama Bears Rising can be that trusted resource that we can then send people to. Because I'm not telling you what to think or how to think. I
Mhm.
actually want you to
Right.
think for yourself, be informed, and now you go and take that information. So I think it could also be a great way to send a daughter, a spouse, a loved one, a friend do that and now let them engage and make that decision because I've been open about saying we can't abdicate our health, our faith, our family, our freedom to anyone else, right? To trusted officials, to authorities, to the practitioners. that personal responsibility is on us. So now as our children are becoming those adults, it's important to equip them with the tools that they need to then go and make the best decisions for them, themselves and their families with what they
Mhm.
have at the time.
And at the end of the day, all you're doing is trying to educate and arm them with knowledge that they may or may not need, but yet it's available to them.
Yes, I want to be the connector and I want them to be informed. I'm big on informed consent. I've supported Texans for Vaccine Choice since I found out about them when I started speaking out. And I love that they approach it as vaccine choice. They're not saying, they're saying, yes, ask about the ingredients, be informed. But if you're pushing something and you're not telling us the whole thing, that's not okay either. So definitely check them out, Texans for Vaccine Choice. They're so active and they're a great organization. And that's where I think a lot of things are missing. People want to approach a person on a topic to be right and prove what they're saying is right. And so you've already lost most of the battle to go into a discussion with that is already, right? So I like to say go into that with truly being curious and caring about the person that you're talking to. And it's gonna come across a lot differently than if you're just trying to prove a point or persuade them, right? Um, it it's kind of like the old saying, you catch more flies with honey, isn't that
Sure.
something like that? And so Carrie Bigford, who actually is with Texans for Vaccine Choice, she's definitely going to be a mama mentor on there, and so she'll be sharing her resources. And one of them is how to approach a conversation like this that can be controversial and make sure that you're coming across the right way. So lots of resources on the community that will be live this month.
That's fantastic. How can people sign up right now to become a part of Mama Bears Rising and the movement? Can you tell folks a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So you can go to Mama Bears Rising, and
Hmm.
Mama is MAMA, and it's
Hmm.
Bears with an S rising.com. And then you'll see where you can join the Mama Bears Rising community from there. And you'll have some updates on the Mama Bears Rising book that's coming out. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, we'll start offering that. And
Hmm.
then I think I've shared this with you the past couple of years, Steve, but our Mama Bears Care will also be going live this year, and that's where we're giving back to organizations that we support because Mama Bears Rising is not a nonprofit. I chose not to go that route. I'm a company
Right.
cause, and we're just getting started. So I'm really excited to finally see so many visions come to fruition, and we want to keep expanding this and sharing it with more people. Thank you, Steve, for all of that. Yes, this really is, I believe, my calling and my life's legacy and my legacy work. And so I think, yes, nothing worth doing comes easy, right? And I'm sure you and probably a lot of your listeners can attest to no one really sees what goes on behind the scenes. Um, Cost of the time, money, effort, sleep, sacrifices, all those things. But you know what? I wouldn't trade it for anything because I truly believe that we need to continue this to protect our children. If we're in a nation where we are murdering babies and mutilating children's bodies and they're not able to be safe, what's the point? Are we really a free nation? I know it's easy for people to say, well, we can't really make a difference and all these things are going to happen anyway. It's like, well, you can control much more than you think and know, and we also need to continue the ability to be able to speak freely, and I'll continue to advocate for that as long as God allows me to. So thank you so much. It really means a lot to have your support. I'll see y'all soon. Bye, y'all.